Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm Jacob Boone, and this is Getting the Arsenal. And we are back after the international break, and fuck me, how boring is that? Anyway, moving on. We've got a lot to get through and not a lot of time, so let's get straight down to it. And I'm probably going to start with one of the most obvious things, is the North London derby. Massive, massive game. Let's be honest, any Arsenal fan, as soon as the fixtures are released, is the first thing you look for. When's the North London derby? When are we playing them home or away? What's going to happen? Now, it's the old cliche that derby day, form goes out the window. Completely agree, you know. These games are all about who wants it more, which is another football cliche, but that's what football's all about. If we go out there, we've got to go away, which isn't always easy either. If we go out there wanting it more, then usually that can carry you much further than sometimes what your form's actually bringing coming into the game. Now, going into this game, we've got obviously a couple of key absentees. I don't think that maybe Julian Timber's completely fit from what I've been sort of reading. I think Calafiori might have a knock as well. You've then obviously got the most obvious one in Martin Odegaard. Horrible challenge, which the Norway manager then sort of made this sort of passing comment where it was like, I don't think Arteta is going to be pleased for me, or I don't think I'm going to get a thank you phone call or something along them lines. Really not helpful, is it? Really not helpful. And I'm sure as well in the first game of the two games that Norway played, I'm sure Odegaard picked up a bit of a knock in that. Now, this is what winds me up about international football, because this Nations League, I get they've brought it in to bring a more competitive edge to the international breaks and things like that. And obviously I understand you do need the international break so that you're not going into major tournaments with no form or nowhere looking at your side and things like that. But to me, what happened to the days where a manager could say, look, we got a big game at the weekend, any chance you can only give him 45, or any chance you can leave him out and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong, Odegaard might not want that, you know. I mean, if I was given the opportunity to play for my club, play for my country rather, and my club manager spun round and said, here, do us a favour, start him on the bench, you know, give him 20 minutes, you'd be fuming. So it's easy to say that from a jealous sort of fan's perspective. But yeah, like, it's the North London derby, you know, and it's come at such an early part of the season and already come at a very crucial part of the season. So this comes the week before that we're going to play Man City. Like I said, Odegaard's out, probably going to be out he will be out for that game and a number of other weeks as well. Obviously Declan Rice as well, he's banned for this game, which everybody knows my feelings on that. So yeah, that's obviously not ideal. The North London derby is a big game. It's two very big, powerful midfields that are going to be basically at loggerheads throughout the whole 90 minutes. Especially as Tottenham play with such a high line. So it's going to compact that midfield even more. So the only thing we can hope for is that we try and exploit this high line. Now, the only problem with that is obviously you've got Van der Ven, who is, I'm pretty sure, the fastest player in the Premier League. That's ultimately like the fastest sweeper that money can buy. So yeah, all right, you think, Sam, they've got a high line, we'll just slip it in behind. That's not necessarily going to happen either, is it? Because he's going to outpace anybody in the Arsenal side. It's got to be a fantastic ball, timed to perfection. Mate, he's got to be on the shoulder of his last man, whoever it is. So yeah, that's the only way, in my eyes, that we're necessarily gonna break him down. And we're not gonna have Odegaard's keen eye for a pass. So it's going to be interesting. In regards to who I think he might bring in the midfield, he's got options, you know. You're obviously going to see Partey in there, and again, everybody knows my feelings on Partey. He, obviously, one of the things that sticks out for me was a few years ago in the North London derby, was he kind of went down with an injury, got back up, almost started walking off the pitch, to which Spurs broke and scored. Now, Like, what is going on there? You know? So if we have a party that turns up like he did that day, then we're in some serious trouble. So, who do you then pair up with Partey? Obviously, Partey's going to be in there. No Rice, no Odegaard. So, 2 out of your 3 in the midfield are gone. So, you're then going to have to bring in... I've been thinking you'll probably end up dropping Havertz back in there, which, again, Havertz has been doing so well up front. It'd be such a shame to pull him out of that sort of number 9 role. Yeah, so, and again, it gives us another dynamic when we are on the attack, you know. I don't rate Vicario in the air as a keeper, so I'd like to see us getting balls into that box and really testing out this Vicario's like aerial ability, if I'm being completely honest. So that's something else that I don't really want to see, but I kind of almost don't really see us having a choice. And then you're going to have to, in my eyes, almost play Jorginho in there, which, again, Jorginho's fine, but then that also means that Partey has got to do some serious legwork in that midfield. Like, he's going to have to cover some serious ground, because Jorginho is a class player, and I really like Jorginho. He's calm on the ball, he's press resistant, but when Spurs break, and they are going to break in this game, there's no doubt about it. It's not going to be all Arsenal, far from it, even if we had Rice and Odegaard. You look at the game last season where we were 3-0 up at half-time or whatever. Sweet, yeah, it was all Arsenal, but look at the second half, you know. So Jorginho, he needs legs in and around him, which this is where I'm struggling, because, again, Havertz will put a shift in, but he's not going to cover the sort of ground that Declan Rice would. And this is where Declan Rice, to me, has been so pivotal in that midfield, because he just eats up the ground. He's here, there and everywhere. He's box to box. He puts a challenge in. So I'm really disappointed in Rice and what's obviously happened, and the fact that he's going to be missing for such a pivotal game. So yeah, that could be my midfield 3. You've then also got the possibility of playing Zinchenko in there, which you could do Zinchenko. You'd like to think that Zinchenko will get about the pitch a bit better. So for me, if he was to play Zinchenko in there, that could then release Havertz back up top. The other one is you could play Ranieri. Look, it seems like every other team that brings in youngsters for big games, Liverpool done it last season, United have done it with Mainu, it works. I've just got this horrible feeling that we could try it and it doesn't quite work. It's one thing doing it in games throughout the season, but when it's the North London derby, which you could argue is possibly the biggest derby in the Premier League, don't obviously quote me on that, but that's my opinion. It's going to be fast. There's going to be challenges flying in and around. It's going to be chaos, right? It's almost like a baptism of fire for the young lad. Do you want to be putting him in for his first Premier League start in such a big game where already we really need to be taking 3 points because we've dropped points against Brighton and City is so strong? It's an intriguing one, you know? I mean, I'm all for giving players a chance. I just don't know whether it's fair on the lad himself to throwing him at the deep end. Like, he is, granted, he's either going to sink or swim, and he's clearly got great technical ability. So sometimes the youngsters go in and they've got no fear. It could work, you know? But is it worth taking such a big gamble and risk in such a massive game? I don't know. I honestly don't know. To me, for a more defensive option, possibly playing Zinchenko in that midfield, I think he gives you more legs. That then allows Havertz to stay up top, and it doesn't really alter the team too much. If you were to drop Havertz in, obviously it then allows Gabriel Jesus to play, and obviously, again, another fantastic player. It's different to what Havertz gives you up top, obviously, but it does give us a little bit more pace if we are going to look to try and break that high line, which also leads me on to my next point where I think Martinelli could come back in on that left-hand side. But we could also see Raheem Sterling. I've seen a couple of videos of him in training. He looks sharp. He looks hungry. He's got a point to prove. He'll know. He's not stupid. He knows what the Premier League's about. He'll know all about the North London derby. He'll know how big the game is. It could be perfect for him to come in and make his Arsenal debut, be it from the bench or or in the starting 11. So that's exciting. So these are it's going to be such a key game, and it's going to be hard because, like I said, straight off the back of that, we then go. We've then got Man City. You know, we've then got Atalanta after that, I believe. Then we've got Bolton in the Carabao. So these are big games already, and we're not even in October yet. You know, and if these games don't go well, you could almost argue that our season could be done and dusted before we've even got out of the blocks. Like, say, for example, we draw against Tottenham, lose against City. Like, I think we're already 4 points behind them, I think, if my maths are right. So, all being well, I'm doing my podcast, mate. Yeah, go on, fuck off. Apologies there for the interruption from Alex Salt. These things happen. But yeah, so we could ultimately be so far behind Man City, and we're not even at Christmas. Now, don't get me wrong. I know, like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But when you're up against a team in City that are they just know they're almost mechanical, like robotic, like in the way they perform each year. And obviously they've strengthened, bringing back Ilkay Gundogan as well. So yeah, we've got a real big couple of weeks coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see what Arteta does. Leading on to Arteta, obviously fantastic news that he's obviously signed his new contract. The only thing with this now is, if anything, I think it puts more pressure on him to have to win some trophies this season. I mean, I'll be happy with any trophy this season. We've got to be, if we're going to be up there and be one of these elite clubs, we have to be winning something now, year in, year out. Whether it's the Carabao Cup, and I'm not saying winning the Carabao Cup's enough, but what I'm saying is we need silverware. The money we're spending, you know, I get that City are a tough team, but we obviously, when Arteta come in, we won the FA Cup and things like that. We need to be getting back to that. Like, I'd even take an FA Cup, you know, because, like I said, it's hard then to attract further players if you're not bringing trophies in as well, you know. They're going to look at it and go, yeah, Arsenal, fantastic club, but what are they winning, you know? Yeah, they're challenging against City, but if City are coming away with 2 or 3 trophies throughout the season, there's obviously not a lot left for us to win, you know. So, yeah, fantastic news for Arteta. I love Arteta, to be fair. Obviously, like I said before on my podcast, my feelings were initially a bit mixed about Arteta, and I did want him out and things like that. But yeah, you know what it's like being a football fan. You have some passionate opinions, and not all of them are necessarily right. You know, so congratulations to Mikel Arteta. Fantastic news for the club, and long may it continue. So yeah, thank you for listening, guys. Hopefully, I'll be releasing the podcast on the day of the game, providing I can calm myself down enough, but we'll see. So yeah, again, big thank you to everybody that's listening. It does mean a lot. So please like, share, subscribe, spread the word, and keep up your fantastic support. Take care.